Okay, all right. So it's our pleasure now to introduce Professor Lee McKnight. I know Pam was gushing about you to me. So I am eagerly awaiting your commentary. So Professor McKnight is currently at Syracuse University, and he co-leads the NIST GCTC Secure Cloud Architecture Action Cluster, contributing to the NIST Office's Cyberphysical Systems Smart City and Community Framework Series. Lee was a member of the NIST COVID19 Task Force and the NIST GCTC Cybersecurity and Privacy Advisory Committee, or also known as CPAC. And I know, talking to Pam over the last 18 months, you guys were working on that task force. So that's where a lot of her great comments came from. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Professor, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill, for the kind introduction, and thanks everyone for sticking with me through this session. As we start turning, and some of the remarks and comments that other presenters have made throughout the day, you'll hear echoes of it in my remarks, but perhaps Pamela nudged me into my after lunch entertainment role here. So you'll see my slides are perhaps somewhat lighter in tone, but with maybe serious, I still think serious messages in what I have to say. Pam, do you have my slides? Can you pull them up, or should I, or what do we do?
You can pull them up if you want, Professor Knight, or I can do it. It's better if you do it, actually.
Okay. So let's see if I can do it. Okay, hold on. Just one more second.
No problem at all. I always think it's a little bit easier for you to control the pace of the slides this way. So.
Yeah, sure. I got it.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So what we'll be discussing with you is trusted ethical AI by design, certified or not. And what exactly I mean there, we'll start by saying if you Google my name and trusted ethical or ethical AI or certified ethical AI, you'll find a Pew Internet video from a conference that I spoke at maybe 2 or 3 years ago, in which I predicted in the future there would be certified ethical AI developers. And if you didn't have your AI system built by a certified ethical AI developer, then of course you would know that you shouldn't trust it. Okay, so now we move 3 years forward. There's many ethical AI principles and frameworks and guidelines, and there's still no such thing as a certified ethical AI developer, and I don't know that we're close to it. So I guess my meta message is, you know what, I don't trust anybody, or pretty much hardly anybody in this whole space, because I don't know, I know they haven't had their systems built by a certified ethical AI developer. Okay, so also in setting up for my remarks with Pamela and some of her gushing about what I would have to say, I said, gee, you're putting some pressure on me, Pamela. This is just yesterday. So maybe I should turn to an AI system, GPT-3, which I assume many of you or some of you are familiar with. Sort of this, you know, it's basically the back end office engine for many, many of those chatbots that we were just discussing throughout the day. So I asked them, turned to them to see what the GPT-3 chatbot Twitter feed had to say 2 days ago. And they said, do not take life too seriously. You will never get out of it alive. Okay, so one way of say, okay, that's maybe factually correct, but now should I take this as the AI is making fun of us and our own mortality, because that doesn't hold for them. Their automated systems will carry on. Okay, and why exactly there's a porcupine image? That's one of my punchlines that I'll get to later. All right, so stepping back from these perhaps lighter focused images here. Another part of what I have been saying for several years is, well, one, when people talk about artificial intelligence, let's be honest, most people talking about artificial intelligence like don't even know a definition of the term, or in their listeners' minds, or like whether we're talking consumers or medical doctors or other professionals, there's sort of some Hollywood movie image of essentially magic that happens, and that's attributed to AI. So some kind of magical thing that makes things happen, that has feelings, that understands your feelings and gives you advice or guides you or leads you or whatever. So but that's not really what artificial intelligence is. And, but not being pedantic, I don't have my slide I sometimes use, like saying, here's the textbook definitions of AI. But well, just stepping back for just a moment, we could say, really, that term has been around and used, again, going back now 70 years. And what was considered an artificially intelligent system 70 years ago, you know, what was like considered incredibly stupid and barely capable system today. What was an AI system in the 80s? Yeah, it was still pretty dumb. And guess what? Still today, I say all AI is not intelligent. It's not really, that's just not where we're at. That's not what the capabilities are. It can simulate some aspects of human intelligence and can do data processing at speeds much faster than people, but it's not really truly intelligent. Okay, so going further then, really, if we're looking at systems, we should be more precise in like, what are we actually talking about? Most of the time, we're talking about machine learning or natural language processing. So I'll say it again, machine learning, machines learning, where humans are teaching machines to understand something that humans know and compute something that humans know, and then perhaps working on very much larger data sets, find patterns that humans couldn't find because we can't process images or text or voice or whatever it is at the rate and speed that a computational system can. So in other words, behind quote unquote the AI, there's always humans. There's humans in making the design, there's humans designing the algorithms, and there's humans maybe not even understanding what they've created, maybe not understanding what the output means or how the system that they created came to that conclusion, which touches back on points that Pamela and Sreea and others have raised already, saying, yeah, we can't really necessarily explain what happened in a neural network that led to this outcome. Okay, so we said machine learning, natural language processing, deep learning, neural networks. I'm not going to turn this into an academic lecture, but say really, when you're talking to someone, each of those are very distinct things, and you should, for your own use or purposes, should understand what's behind the phrase or buzzword artificial intelligence. And as Sreea honestly admitted, say, hey, I got 50 million, but I don't really have much AI in my system now. I have a little bit. So that's often the case. They're in the market. It's a great buzzword. It helps you raise capital. It helps, and it can really do this high-speed computational matching machine learning process. That's real. I'm not saying it's not real, but it's not true intelligence. Okay, so now turning gears slightly, we can talk about three categories of AI systems, recognizing that beneath that term, we could be really referring to machine learning or neural networks or deep learning or natural language processing systems or some particular version or variety of computational system that leads to, in the aggregate gets lumped together under artificial intelligence. So to make it shorthand, there is a good AI, which is any of those systems that are well designed with security, with privacy, with care to the purposes and uses of the system. As opposed to that, there's quote unquote, as I've been also saying for many years, sloppy Silicon Valley approaches where it's just sloppy and you can't describe, you don't really know what's going on. And even the developers themselves, but they rush it out the door. It's using some of those techniques. It maybe or maybe isn't compliant with any system. And I think I heard Sreea basically say that, I don't know whether it's 95% or 90% or 80%, but most of the money pouring into healthcare AI, quote unquote, would be in the bad, sloppy Silicon Valley category from what I just heard, where they're just rushing it out the door because the venture capitalists are giving them money, but no, they don't actually know what they're doing. They don't know how to ensure or provide any kind of verified basis for anybody being able to ever say, yeah, I trust this system. Okay, so there's good, there's bad, and there's this third category, which is evil AI. Evil AI could be a good system with a zero-day exploit or other security flaw that malevolent evildoers have taken over. So we could be thinking about like a autonomous vehicle fleet of 50,000 vehicles that some cyber attackers have managed to take over and then use as weapons. Or it could be any number of other varieties of AI systems that have similarly been perverted for unsavory purposes. Or they could be evil by design. They could, there's deep fakes and things like this that the criminal community have been using to fake the voice of a CEO and have him, the fake him, sort of tell his subordinates it's urgent that they wire $15 million or $20 million to some account, or not even just a fake voice. All right, so good, bad, and evil AI is out there, is in the world now, and I'm afraid there's not that much good AI out there. From a different perspective, there's kind of consumer AI and industrial AI with many of the AI applications being built into automated systems, which the consumer will never, ever interact with directly. So that's not really the part that I'm talking about so much. It would be in the IT world or like the industrial operational technology. So operational AI systems that are helping monitor flights or traffic on the roads. Okay, so in many of these cases, the concerns, there are security concerns. There may be some ethical issues, but it's not the same as for those kind of consumer facing or consumer interacting AI applications. Okay, so is there hope? Is there something better than evil or bad AI? I think so. Is it better than the machines making fun of us? There is progress. I haven't heard people use the phrase SBOMs or software bill of materials, which NTIA has been promoting for some time. And NIST has just come out with a software product labeling inquiry just in the past weeks. So if these were these kinds of requirements for the AI, quote unquote, AI developers to actually reveal how their systems work, actually be able to explain it and confirm that, oh, we're using this open source tool, or we're using these 3 proprietary tools, or yeah, here's this element that we don't even understand, but it's part of our system. That I think there's ways to move forward with more transparency in the space has been discussed throughout. And let me make sure I'm keeping track of my time. Just one second.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Good time. 15 more minutes.
Yeah. So okay. So first, I want to highlight this this quote system. So you can like chatbots that can come up with cute one-liners. Okay, yeah, that's true. This is really and truly what Deep AI came up with as one of its quotes on days ago. Do not take life too seriously. You will never get out of it alive. Now let's look, if we jump ahead, assuming we're all here, how can we get towards better and more ethical AI? I go back to that challenge where I started saying, where are the ethical AI developers that we should actually trust? And no offense, I've been around, I was at MIT, I did supervise doctoral students in the computer science artificial intelligence laboratory decades ago. Great people, you know what? We're still like this is the baby steps of ethics in computation where we are right now. In the medical field, there's been 40 or 50 years when the medical field recognized, you know what, we really need some help from ethicists, people that really understand ethics. And by now, 50 years later, you know what, every hospital, every teaching hospital, every medical school has people that are bioethicists on staff. They teach classes, they work through, they help doctors when they're saying, you know, there's a really complicated ethical issue. I don't know what to do. And it's not magic to have a bioethicist on your staff, but those positions, that's now a standard part of healthcare. It is not standard part of computer science departments to have a ethicist on the faculty or in the School of Information Studies or Information Science where I am. There's people like me that know something about data ethics. I have a background also in social science. So I'll say, actually, you know what? That's more than most of these computer science people that talk about ethics have. They have a background in computer science. Within engineering curricula, you don't get much flexibility to take courses in humanities or liberal arts or ethics. So most of the people around the whole data space and the AI space that are claiming to know something about ethics, I don't believe or trust them either. No offense to them, because where is their training? They're not like the bioethicists in the medical schools. So there's a gaping hole here across the whole field, not just for artificial intelligence, but for any kind of software system, any kind of labeling where there is a need for certified, where the need is most acute is around certified ethical AI developers, as I said before. Now, when we first looked at that several years ago, we tried to say, I advocated for it, honestly, and then, okay, I'm off the podium and I wanted to move on and go back and teach my class. And then I found the Pew Internet put that 2-minute video where I gave that call out for certified ethical AI developers. They put it on YouTube. And I said, oh, shoot, now this lives on forever. I can't get away from being the one advocating for this. Let me see what I can do. Can I push it towards people like Pam and Lan Jensen and the certified security professionals? Maybe this should be a security professional association task to help develop certified ethical AI developers. And the certified cybersecurity professional said, yeah, that's a little more complicated than cybersecurity and outside our wheelhouse. So thank you very much. We'll consult, we'll help, but we can't take that on, which is of course honest. I tried the privacy professional association, same thing, saying, hey, you're pretty good at privacy. You do certification for privacy. Can you help here? And they're saying, yeah, no, thanks very much. So I think there's going to be a need, honestly, for a whole new professional association. Oh, and this can't be like one version of a certified ethical AI developer in the US and another version in Germany and another version in another country, just like the top security professionals are. I honestly think this has to be done as a global international thing, or we're not going to get anywhere. So that makes it even harder. So this is a prickly situation. It's not going to be resolved anytime soon. And you really shouldn't believe or trust anybody telling you they have a government guarantee. They're telling you their system is ethical, and they know it is. One example, Google hired some of the top AI ethicists, and they fired them when they started saying things out loud that Google didn't like. Okay, so that's what companies do. They have the right to hire and fire, including people that challenge and point out where their employer systems are not behaving to the highest standards. Okay, so let me get to my next slide. Can we, oh, it's up to me. All right, so we can turn the tables though on AI systems. And we first have to recognize they're not smart. They are just doing math. They're just solving, they're just computing ones and zeros. All of you, anybody listening to me is smarter than any AI system. And how, well, so this is an anecdote, an example, but this is real. This deep AI machine learning model system that you guys can go to too, I fed back into that system the quote from GPT-3 about do not take life too seriously, you will never get out of it alive. And all it fed back to me were pictures of dogs. Okay, if we look at the dog on the left, that looks kind of ferocious. I could say, okay, is it kind of making some weird joke that that dog's gonna kill me, or that's why I'm gonna die? I'm not gonna get out of it alive. And it also, so I did it again, and I got another dog. I did it again, I got another dog. I did it again, and I got a puppy. Okay, so that can't be that. It's just, you know what, this deep AI system is not very deep. Do not take life too seriously. You will never get out of it alive, and you get a picture of a puppy or a dog. I don't think that's very smart. Any human, no human would tell me if I give them that line, I'm thinking of puppies, I'm thinking of dogs. And say, no, you're not. You never ever do that. Because, okay, finally you get my joke is like every single day and time deep AI returned an image of a dog because no one knows AI is still a dog, but it is. Okay, but let's try, we'll give AI another chance. I fed the quote again into another GPT-3 machine learning system that does art. I said, okay, let's try again. Well, I give AI the benefit of the doubt. Can it actually give me something intelligent or meaningful? And I got this kind of nice Cezanne painting, and I don't have any idea what that has to do with my quote again. So again, these are just anecdotes. This is life, but these are the systems. We could take this further into more scientific processes, but the reality is most of the AI systems out there, you could say, well, Professor McKnight was feeding in garbage and he gets garbage out. What does he expect? I say, yeah, well, how do you know any of these other AI systems isn't feeding in garbage? We know when NIST evaluated 450 facial recognition systems that commercial companies were selling, not one of them passed, not one out of 450 could say, oh, you know what, they actually recognize people of different races accurately, not one. So guess what? Now, just the other day, Facebook says, oh, we'll take down 1 billion images that we've been using facial recognition on or processing on. Yeah, well, what were they doing with those systems? What else do they know when they take down those particular images? So I guess I'll move back to say, we're in the infancy. We're not even in the infancy. Like this is like barely crawling stage of ethics in AI, where there's so much to be done. But the positive news is in 5 years, 10 years, if you're a municipal city, if you're a smart city developer or a smart city mayor, are you going to buy any AI system or system that says it has AI in it? If there's no way for the developer, if it isn't Sreea saying, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I made sure that the security is built in. I made sure it's HIPAA compliant by design. If you're the federal government, are you going to buy anything with AI that can't be confirmed that it's ethical by design? I don't think so. Finally, we're going to get to the consumer systems where people may buy things, but they're going to, at some point, it's going to come too. So I think there's positive path ahead towards ethics by design, security by design, privacy by design, because right now we just have a sloppy mess. But so now we'll do my commercial and I'll pause after this for time for questions. one way to go further than just me showing pictures of dogs and paintings is to join me and Pamela and others at this Smart Cities short course where we go talk about AI further in and other technologies. This was announced the other week. The dates are in March and April. We online. You can go to the link and find out more, and we could have longer, more detailed interactive discussions at that time. And I'll stop sharing. And I think I'm on time for questions, or for a few minutes for questions.
Thank you, Professor. I have a question for you, which is, what would be the answer if you had asked Woodall?
Say again?
Which has 10 times more parameters than GPT-3. It's a natural language processing model, and then I would be interested in seeing what you get from that.
Yeah, these are just the ones that I had time to input and play with for my talk. So maybe it would still be a dog. That's a good point. But there certainly is reason to hope for better systems coming forward, but I can't tell you the answer for that one.
No, I bring that as a subtle way of saying that this Woodall has 10 times more parameters than GPT-3, which is a huge deal for natural language processing. But the problem still remains of how these systems are being trained. In this case, it's a model being created by China.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to think about, as you mentioned. 3 things that I get from your talk, and I like to highlight those messages. Can we use AI for high impact, trust-based decision making, right? I just want to keep highlighting the message like a stock record. The other one is we need AI, and I talk about that a little bit later on. And when we talk about smart cities and trust, DISA has 11 parameters that you saw in that convention we just had for cybersecurity and smart cities.
Yes.
There's an added component of perception because these systems are customer and community based facing. So it brings a very big challenge for the governments rolling these out in the free world of how to establish that trust. So I am so happy that you were able to give us this message and yet have us laughing.
Thank you.
So I see Lucas has raised a hand, Professor, so.
Yeah, sure. Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, just want to piggyback on your message. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, like, any one of us sitting in the room is probably smarter than the AI system that we have. Because I think in general, we have not solved the general intelligence problem using technology. So whatever we're doing is still a very, I would call it a specific AI or intelligence that, outside of whatever the design, the algorithm can probably just recognize and classifying objects. Outside of that, they can't do anything at all. Or they may not even do as good job as we are. So, I mean, but then we still wanted to kind of put that in a process as part of a thing because we do have specific tasks that we need some help. So I guess it's a balance that we need to play.
Lucas, can I just jump in there and say that's kind of the industrial AI category now where, recognizing images of checks, the systems got really good at that. 40 years ago, that was like AI. That was really high tech AI. But now, of course, they can recognize your handwriting and your tech, no matter how bad, even my handwriting.
Right. So I mean, specific purposes, it's not general intelligence. So I think that's kind of, just want to piggyback with the idea. Kind of very good comment, good reminder.
Yeah, so let me just make as a closing remark, I know we're right on 3. So this is AI is this moving target where if it's something like that check recognition, does anybody think about that as AI now? No, but it was. If we now we get to the next task, and as soon as it's something that's like even talking to Siri, is that AI? No, it's just a chat. It's not that sophisticated. So over time, we keep raising the bar and the expectations of what what we really want AI systems to do. So to be fair, we have made progress. They're widely used. There's all kinds of benefits to them. And behind the scenes, I don't know what's inside. So thanks very much. I look forward to the further discussions.
Thank you.